It was just kind of a tradition to work at peach sheds, and we had little rivalries between the sheds. At one time, Greer had a peach festival, and it was bigger than the one in Gaffney at one time. We had TV coverage back when that was pretty rare. Had a peach festival and beauty contests and a lot of good activities here, and really brought a lot of attention to Greer.
Well, I guess agriculture was probably the biggest source of income in the Greer area. Almost every family had a peach orchard. Just on the road that I live on, we counted one time there were 7 packing sheds just within less than 5 miles. So everyone grew their own peaches, packed their own peaches. So there was a lot of land available for that. And Greer, what we now call the city of Greer, it had a lot of peach orchards. The Smiths, the Dillards, the Joneses, there was just lots of farms around in the Greer area that grew peaches.
I know Mr. Taylor up the road from us, the Dobsons had a peach shed for a long time. They were in the packing business. Then the Robinsons were more over toward Duncan. There were a number of good-sized packing operations. Well, I started in farming when I graduated from Clemson. But my dad was getting near retirement, and he told me that when I turn 65, I'm going to turn the business over to you. And that he didn't talk about it. He made that comment about 2 or 3 years before he did it, and I didn't really think much about it because he'd always worked all his life. He didn't have any hobbies. I said, he's not going to retire. And the week he turned 65 was the week of June 25th. Beginning of the week, that week, he said, I'm going to pay the help this week. You be ready to pay them next week. So I had to get ready and hustle right quick, go open up another bank account to handle business other than just what little I had on my own. So he never quit working though till he just got to where he couldn't come up to the peach shed, because he lived to be 97 years old, and he was still coming up there into his 90s and every day.
Well, Fisher's Orchard was started by my husband's grandfather. And my husband's father was in the business with his brothers, and they had a peach orchard in Spartanburg County. And when Papa Fisher married Mama Fisher, they moved over to Greenville County, and he started a peach orchard over there. And when the children were small, they all worked in the peach shed and packed the peaches, and then Papa decided that he was going to retire. So that sort of put the farm into my husband's, lap, so to speak. So he and my brother-in-law started it was called Fisher Brothers Farms. And then when our children came along in the early 90s, my brother-in-law decided to retire. So then my son went in with my husband, and we changed it to Fisher's Orchard. And then several years later, my son-in-law came into the farm. So it is definitely a family farm, and all of the family participates.
What is it like working in a family business? I worked for my dad from the time I was big enough to do anything, and some of that went back to when I was 7, 8 years old probably. And it was good to work for your dad, but he was also the hardest boss you'll ever have, because and I'm probably the same way, he expected you to do everything just like he would do it, and you know everything that he knew. But it gives you a real sense of achievement and accomplishment when you work together as a family and you're successful and you do something good. I know a number of the most successful agricultural operations I know are family operations, and some of the biggest ones you know.
We acquired Taylor's Packing Shed here in Greer in the 90s when Mr. Taylor decided that he wanted to retire. And we leased his property and his shed. So we had the Taylor shed, which we still call it the Taylor shed, because if something has been established as long as the Taylor's orchard had, if you suddenly give it another name, nobody's going to know who that is. So we just decided to continue on with the Taylor shed. So then we had the Taylor shed, and we had Fisher's Pick Your Own shed. So then several years later, Mr. Dillard decided that he wanted to retire. So then we acquired Mr. Dillard's operation. We do the peaches and the produce on one side, and Mr. Dillard's family still does the ice cream on the other side of the shed. And we acquired the peach orchards. So that's how we ended up with all three of our locations. We call it the Dillard Orchard, the Taylor Orchard, and the Fisher's Pick Your Own Orchard. Peaches require a lot of attention, a lot of hands-on work. During the wintertime, the peaches have to be pruned, and in the springtime, after they bloom, you have to be thinned. So I guess thinning is one thing. And then in the summertime, of course, you've got to pick them. So that's the three processes that you go through. And then the main thing is the selling of the peaches. That's your last thing that you have to make sure.
Using high school kids to work, that's the way it was when I grew up. When I can first remember, there were 4 Dillard peach sheds in Greer. And I don't know how many others, 15 or 20 other peach sheds in Greer when I was a kid. And all of them pretty well used high school kids in the summer, and that really was the big labor market for kids, was working in those peach sheds.
It was a rite of passage for the youth of Greer at that time to work in the peach shed. This was pre-ice cream parlor, just all peaches, and Lem was always a great boss and just really, embraced teenagers and treated us with respect. And, we learned a lot from him on how to treat others with respect and responsibility and that type of thing.
It was a lot of fun having teenagers around. Kept me young. That was the most pleasurable part of my business, was actually having an association with the young folks and seeing next generation come back and work. And we had some couples that even met and got married working there.
That's true. I worked for Lem for 3 years in high school and then came back in college as well. So he always took me back. So
always glad to have her back.
Some of the warmest memories of my childhood were working for Lem, and I made wonderful friends there, and just, it was just a neat experience. It's
just been a pleasure to see people grow up and become leaders in the community and a valuable asset at the school. And we've had a number that, I know at least 2 that have become doctors, lawyers, other professions, and it's just so exciting to see them go and be successful people in life.
Everyone loves peaches. Peaches is the favorite summer fruit, I think, of almost everyone. So we've got a big clientele of customers that love to come to get peaches. We had a boiler in Georgia that normally took our peaches and canned the peaches, and the boiler blew up. So we had to do something with the peaches. So Papa came up with the big idea to call the Greenville News and have them to come out and look over the peach orchard and let the people know that if they wanted some fresh peaches, they could come to Fisher's and pick their own peaches. And that was fairly new, because most all the peach growers picked their own peaches and packed their own peaches. We didn't allow the public into our orchards. So that year, we moved a lot of peaches by having the pick your own. So the next year, we really didn't want the people back in the orchard another year, but they kept coming. And we couldn't get them to stop coming. So we had to let them go in the orchard and pick peaches. So then the next year, it grew bigger and bigger. So then we sort of got pushed into having Fisher's Pick Your Own. So that was the first retail store that we had. People nowadays, families, are more involved in wanting their children to know where fruits and vegetables are coming from. And we have a lot of families that will come to the produce stands, bring the kids and let them help pick out different things and tell them about it. So it's good, and we've got a lot of new people, a lot of new faces in Greer. The new BMW plant, the Michelin plant, all the different new areas around are bringing in people from other countries, and they're liking what they find in the southern foods.
How has farming changed over the years? It's just unbelievable. I wrote an essay when I was at Clemson about the peach industry, and I said the only constant in the peach industry was change. There was change every year. Every year was different. We had years where we lost the entire crop. We had years where we had 10% of a crop. We had years where we got too much rain. We had years when we didn't get enough. The technology in growing peaches has changed. The varieties have changed. Everything has changed, and most of it for the better.
Georgia claims they're the peach state, but I think our peaches here in the upstate, around Inman and Spartanburg, we really grow more peaches in this small area here than the whole state of Georgia grows. So we like to say that we have the sweeter peach.
Well, the one thing somebody coming new to Greer should know is that it's not Greer, it's Greer.
Greer.
And, all joking aside, Greer's been a very close-knit community for many years. I don't know whether the fact that the Greenville County-Spartanburg line runs through Greer has drawn us to be more close than some of the other communities in the county. But I think to some degree we've always felt like we were the red-headed stepchild of Greenville and Spartanburg. And because of that, the Greer people stuck together a lot better than maybe some other places did.
I think the new thing that you would need to know moving into Greer is to love your community. This community gives so much back to its members, and I think just getting involved and loving your community and trying to make it a better place. You know, Greer is a small town, and you know the impact that this community and this town has on its residents. They come back and they put roots down and all. So just getting involved and doing what you can to give back is, I think, really important to maintain that sense of community in a small town.
Well, Greer is still a small town, still got a lot of the small town qualities, but yet Greer has grown so that it meets a lot of the needs of different people moving into our area. More nice restaurants, more places to shop. Used to, we would have to go to Greenville to do our shopping because there wasn't that much available in Greer to shop. So things have changed. Things have changed for the better, I believe. I don't think any of us want to go back in time, but sometimes you'd like for things to just slow down and stay where they are.